instead of just returning the whole state, we want to do an object with ... state. So what this does is it takes what the state is and updates just a single field. So if we're updating the email, we don't want to overwrite the whole user state. We just want to update the email field. So that's what this is doing. It's grabbing the initial state and then finding the email field, if I can spell email correctly, and then updating it with the actions payload. So action, we're already passing an action, and payload is where we're passing in this payload. So you can change this payload to whatever you want. You could change it to email, but another kind of best practice is passing it as the payload and then calling that in the reducer function. So we're going to pass in update email states email equals action.payload. And ideally that payload would be the actual email that the person is typing into the text field. But one thing we do have to change up here is const counter equals state. So remember, we can't just do multiple export defaults. Export default, it can only be one per file. So we're just going to const counter. Man, I am not good spelling on camera. And then we're going to do export default down here. So we're going to do export default something else. We have to combine these two items to make one single global object. So you can't have multiple objects. Just so you can't have multiple components, you have to have one single parent and then multiple children. You have to do the same thing reducers. You have to have, right now we have multiple children. You can't pass them both in to export default. You have to export one single parent. So we're going to use a function, we're going to import something from Redux called combine reducers. I actually spelled it right. From Redux. And then down here, we're going to do combine reducers. And we're going to combine counter and user. To make it clear, we're going to do root reducer. So this is the root, this is the parent, and we're just going to create another const. So we have our root reducer, which is the parent. This makes it a little bit more clear. This is the parent, and these two are the children. So if we want to use that function, we have to pass it in. So we're going to do update email, update this to user, and then we have to import connect and our file, and boundary act. So we have to import a few things. So bind action creators, which we're already using down here. Connect, so you're connecting the state props and dispatch props to all the components, so you can actually call them. And then we have to import our action that we just created. So before we were passing in just actions, now we're in the user file. It's not indexed anymore. So we have to call that, and then we named our function update email. And let's see if this works. Hello. Oh, let's try value, then we're going to see if that actually works. So this dot props dot user blue. Hey, look at that. It's actually working. So you can see that that works. So we added a function or an action called update email, and that's passing in email as the payload, and then that's updating this user reducer with a new email of whatever we typed in here. Oh, I want to do that. So if we go back, the one thing we do have to update is, say we wanted to do the password as well. We wanted to create a new function called update password. And then we're going to add a new field or new case statement and create a new field of password. And then update this password. And then add that new function to our component. Password. Hey, of course it's not working. So, this is what I was hoping for actually. So, now that we're importing our props as state, we have specific items on that state. So this is just state is pulling in the entire reducer. So if we go back to our reducer, you can see that now we don't have a single parent with just a number. We have a parent with a child of counter and a child of user. So if we're in the login page or the user section on the login page, we want to do state.user to access just the user state and assign that to a new variable called user so that we could access it via this.prop. So you could change this to new user. So it doesn't really matter what you call this item right here, but this is what really matters. So this state.user has to match whatever you call it in the reducer. So that's the one thing I did want to point out as well, to get this all working, because now we're going to have multiple objects, and these objects are going to get deeper and deeper of different fields of username, password, email, user ID, and so you're going to want to have to just update those single fields instead of updating the entire state every single time. And that's how we're doing it with this ... state, and then just updating the email field. And so in the next episode, we're going to add a couple more fields to the sign up page, and then add a button to check whether that user has information or not, and if they do, then send them to the home page. So I hope you join me for that lesson, and I'll see you there.